Whitney lifted her straggly blonde head from the floor. The doorbell clanged. She wobbled to her feet and opened the door. 2 uniformed policemen stood staring at her with hard faces. Whitney looked down. Her dress was splattered with blood. "Are you Whitney Wilcox?" "Yes," she whispered dazedly. "What happened, officers? I found myself lying on my living room floor and my dress is covered with blood." "Miss, you're coming with us down to the precinct. You best have an attorney meet you there. Several witnesses place you at the scene of crimes committed last night." Whitney crumpled to the floor in a faint. An officer quickly revived her. After Whitney changed her clothes, she called her cousin and attorney, Mark Grayson. Then an officer solemnly handed her into the squad car. Whitney's face was milk white in shock. Mark Grayson bustled anxiously into the police interrogation room and hugged Whitney, protecting Whitney, gripping his hand. "Whit, this is crazy. You're the last person on earth who could commit a violent crime." "Mr. Grayson, I'm Chief Detective Collins. Please be seated. Now, Miss Wilcox, tell us where you were yesterday between the hours of 5 p.m. and midnight." "I don't know what happened to me from the time I left work till I found myself on my living room floor." "What is the last thing you can recall?" "I remember I was the only one in the office to get flu shot yesterday. But after the needle plunged into my arm, I became disoriented. I left, and then I can't remember anything." "Detective, Whitney looks ill and should be examined by a doctor," Mark declared emphatically. "All right, Mr. Grayson. We'll take Miss Wilcox to Lakeshore Hospital. Dr. Duras will examine her." Dr. Duras strode out of the hospital examination room. "Miss Wilcox's pulse and heart rate are elevated far above normal stress levels. There's also a mysterious substance in her blood that glows with a yellow phosphorus light. She should remain overnight for observation. You could post a guard at her door, Detective." "As you wish, Doctor," rumbled Detective Collins. Mark spoke from the doorway. "Whitney, my secretary called. I'm scheduled for a flu shot this afternoon. I'll look in on you again later." "Thank you, Mark," Whitney sighed gratefully. That night in her hospital bed, Whitney couldn't sleep. Just as her eyelids fluttered down, she heard Mark speaking in a guttural voice to the guard at her door. She jumped out of bed and turned on the lamp. Her door flung open. There, the dead body of a policeman sprawled in a pool of blood. Whitney screamed. Mark loomed in the doorway. His skin had a greenish cast. His red eyes glared at her balefully, and he opened his mouth, revealing slavering fangs. With his bloody claws outstretched, he crept like a panther, waiting to leap upon her. Suddenly, her doorway erupted with blue-coated policemen who jumped on Mark while a nurse pumped a sedative into his arm. Whitney collapsed onto a chair, shivering. Dr. Dura stepped into the room and patted her on the shoulder. "Doctor, did I look like that last night? Mark is the gentlest person alive. He'd never hurt anyone." "Whitney, that's what Mark said about you." "That poor policeman. Did I kill someone last night, Doctor?" That question went unanswered. Dr. Doris simply stated, "I'm going to test Mark's blood to see if those shining particles are in it." And he walked out the door. A short time later, there was a knock on the door. Who is it?" Whitney quivered. "Detective Collins, Miss Wilcox." "Come in." "Mark's blood has the same strange, yellow shining substance found in your blood. Both of you have squeaky clean police records, not even parking tickets. You're not criminals. Do you happen to remember the name of the company that gave you that flu shot?" "No. Our Human Resources Director, Beth Elsing, made all the arrangements." Whitney gave Detective Collins Beth Elsing's phone number. A short time later, he returned to her room. "Miss Wilcox, Beth Elsing gave us the address of the company, but when I sent someone in the area there, it was a vacant lot. I'll speak with Miss Elsing further. While I'm gone, try to remember anything you can about the person that gave you that flu shot." 5 minutes passed, and Whitney heard a sweet voice speaking softly to the guard at the door. Then someone knocked. "Who is it?" "Whitney, it's Beth Elsing. May I come in?" "Certainly, Beth. How kind of you to come see me." The door opened. Beth Elsing glided in, and she locked the door securely behind her with a loud click. "Whitney, I simply had to come see you. You're such a special person. You couldn't possibly have committed those crimes." "Thank you for your support, Beth." "Think nothing of it. As I said, you're a special person who always does everything perfectly. Have you any idea how much I hate you for that?" Whitney jumped back in alarm. "Beth, what's wrong? I've never seen you this way." "Whitney, you don't know me. I used to be a scientist working for a research company. They fired me because I took too many shortcuts. But I did manage to invent one thing at my old job. My exquisite monster-making toxin. You see, my dear, while in disguise, it was I who gave you and Mark Grayson that flu shot. After you became a monster, you were still too perfect to commit any crimes. I had to kill those nerdy people for you." "It was great fun dripping their blood all over your perfect clothing. You're not going to be able to do anything about this because I'm going to kill you now. I have in this needle a fatal dose of my monster mix. After you're dead, you'll remain a monster, and they'll have to bury you that way." Beth stared into Whitney's terror-stricken eyes and walked forward, clutching the syringe in her hand. Detective Collins kicked the door open. "Ms. Elsing, don't move." "Why should I stop, Detective? After all the people I've killed, I'm dead anyway. Perhaps I can take sweet Whitney with me." Beth continued to stalk Whitney with a syringe raised above her head. Detective Collins froze in the doorway. Whitney's angelic face began changing, coarsening. The skin turned a sallow green. The jaws lengthened. The teeth grew sharper. One claw crashed the lamp to the floor, and in the darkness, the only thing Detective Collins could see were a pair of glowing yellow eyes. Hideous shrieks and growls rent the air. Detective Collins' gun roared 3 times, and 2 thuds struck the floor. He scrambled through the doorway and turned on the light. Beth Elsing lay on the floor, the empty syringe jutting from her dead body. Her green face and body were contorted into a monstrous shape. By Beth's side, Whitney lay peacefully. She looked like an angel. 2 weeks have passed since their deaths. Every day, a sorrowful, tranquilized Mark Grayson trudged to the hospital to give a tiny sample of blood. The same strange, yellow, shining substance still courses through his bloodstream. A policeman is never far from his side. The police also wonder what happened to Beth Elsing's last mixture of toxin. Has anyone here had a flu shot lately?